Hey guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to that. All right, guys, we are here. We're recording an episode of Weed to No Basis. And remember, if you're listening to this, it's because you two are on a Weed to No basis. And as a reminder, folks, our audience, who we cater to, our ideal listener is that cannabis startup entrepreneur. Whether you're on the precipice of doing something, you're in the early stages, or you're looking for guidance. And so our mission is to bring you, I was going to say prescribe you, that's a hint to our next guest, cutting edge, what you need to know to be successful in the industry today. And today I'm super stoked. I got we have Dr. David Cunic. All the way from, well, you're the East Coast, and I know you're traveling a bit. Where are you right now as we're recording this?
Today, I'm in North Jersey. I'm about 20 miles west of Manhattan.
Nice, North Jersey. Now, here's the funny thing, as I've known Dr. Dave we've known each other for probably give or take about a year, but we actually met for the first time in New Jersey at a conference in November of 2019. That was our first face-to-face meeting, right?
It was. It's amazing how many people you do conference calls with or just meetings with, but to actually finally meet in person. Yeah, it took us over a year to actually meet in person.
It was, and you're in Jersey. That's home, and I know that you're a busy dude. It was funny, but as a little aside, folks, is you can't see it, but he's wearing scrubs because he's about to deliver some hands-on patient care. Tell us a little bit about the kind of practitioner you are. Share with the audience.
So, by trade, doctor of physical therapy, a second doctor in healthcare management, but really a serial entrepreneur. I've been very blessed to start 13 companies the last 15 years. I was able to sell 6 of them successfully. And overall, I've started in total 7 companies in the cannabis sector. And one thing I think is really interesting, especially in Jersey, New York, is when people say, oh, how long have you been in the cannabis industry for? What, 2-3 years? I'm like, actually, it'd be 10 years this March 2020. And they go, what? You've been in for how long? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I've had businesses in New England, Oregon, Colorado, Nevada. So I'm like, New Jersey slowly playing catch up.
It is. It's Jersey. I've only been there about 2 or 3 times in my whole life. And the last time I was there was for this expo, the conference we were at, Real Cannabis Entrepreneur Conference. And I was actually, I live in Texas. So if you feel like Jersey is a few steps behind, we're still kind of dark ages. But I was pleasantly surprised at how advanced it was in Jersey, because there was, we were at an after party and there was marijuana present, and it's just the thing. And it's still kind of mind blowing for me being a Texan to see that just in Jersey. That's what I mean, in Jersey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is, and it's also too. They take it another step further, is that you have a lot of small businesses, a lot of first-time business owners in that New Jersey, New York, even Philadelphia area, and they're ready for the explosion. They're trying to get themselves prepared for when things go to the next level out here in this area.
Gotcha. I'm going to come back to that. Prepare for the explosion. And folks, if you hear me, I'm not looking at my phone. I actually take a tremendous amount of notes when which is what you should be doing, especially if you're one of the startup entrepreneurs, is take voracious learning. But I'm going to go back to the preparing for the explosion. But before that, doctor of physical therapy, 10 years in the industry. One of the things I took is you mentioned something on stage when I heard you speak, thinking outside the box. But let's go to U.C.S. Advisors and Investor Relations, which is your company. So tell us what U.C.S. Advisors and Investor Relations does.
Sure. Well, right off the bat, our company motto is where we help you achieve greatness, and we help your company achieve greatness. Because at the end of the day, we all have greatness within us. You just got to be willing to accept it. And so U.C.S. Advisors, Investor Relations, we're a 3-tier company. Tier number 1 is we actually offer business advisory services to startup companies, to first-time business owners, to first-time or young entrepreneurs. When I say young, I don't mean in age, I mean in experience. There's a big need because over 40% of all cannabis and CBD business owners are first-time business owners. And, you need some guidance, you need some help. So we actually offer our advisory services actually by the hour. It's something very unique that makes us different. because we know from firsthand experience, how tight your budget can be. So number one, we offer business advisory services to startup companies, entrepreneurs, and just regular business owners. The second aspect of what we do is we actually work with both public and private companies with investor relations. We will work with their lenders. We will be their representative for them to actually deal with all their investors. Because let's just call a spade a spade. If you got more than 5 or 6 investors and you're the CEO or COO of a company, that's a lot of interaction you got to do with these investors and keeping up to date. Why not outsource that to a third-party company and let them be the liaison for you and let them give the concept updates? So we actually represent companies and actually are their IR, as well as we actually help them secure their financial goals. And the third aspect of our business is that we work with over 175 accredited investors around the country. We work with accredited investors also internationally, and we actually show them different deals that want to get involved in CBD, that want to get involved in cannabis. We also work with different funds as well as with other family wealth offices, because at the end of the day, cannabis is only maybe this much of their business instead of being everything. And when that comes in hand, they come to places like us, U.C.S. advisors, that have the experience. Our employees have the experience in the industry. All our employees have all started their own companies. All of our employees have either exited their company successfully or sold their companies as well too. So they come to us asking for deal flow. So we're really a 3-tier company. 1, hourly business advisory services. 2, working with investor relations. Again, you're coming prepared to take IR. Again, you're coming prepared to take money. And 3, working with high net worth individuals and actually getting them involved in cannabis and CBD deals.
Nice. And I guess just for clarity, Dr. Dave, does U.C.S. only work with cannabis-centric companies, or do you work with a broader spectrum of organizations?
We actually work for a broader spectrum. And thank you for asking that question, Rick, because that's the one thing that people sometimes always think we deal with just cannabis and hemp. 65 to 70% of our business is cannabis, hemp, CBD. 30 to 35% is everything else, from working with microbreweries, working with oil companies, working with electricity companies, working with the electronic scooter company, working with water purification companies. And we've even dealt with gold mines, mineral mines, and diamond mines. And it's good because some of our investors are successful in a non-cannabis deal, and then they go, ooh, let me take some of my profits and let me throw something in some CBD or a cannabis company. And they feel more comfortable because they already made money on something else. And people forget cannabis and hemp goes hand in hand. And here's a great example. I had a lighting company that dealt nothing with cannabis whatsoever. And they actually sold lights to Costco. And most of us have heard of Costco. I'm sure you have Costco down in Texas. Well, from there, they actually wanted to branch out into the cannabis sector. From working with us, we actually were able to carve out 15% of all their sales now is all to cannabis and hemp companies. It was just a regular lighting company that never thought they wanted to get involved in cannabis or hemp. But they realized there's a crossover, and that's where it's nice. We can kind of bridge that gap together.
Interesting. You shared a stat a minute ago. 40% of cannabis business owners are first-time business owners. And now you just talked about how the breadth and the scope is beyond cannabis. Is that statistic, is the statistic that high in non-cannabis businesses? 40% of first-time business owners or cannabis are first-time business owners. Is it that high in other industries in your experience?
No, it's the highest I've ever seen. There's another resource that said it's 44% of all cannabis and CBD owners are first-time business owners, which is still very high. But you look at every other business, like you look at medical professionals, you look at blue-collar services, you look at even the larger corporations. It's just, you don't see this. I mean, you're maybe talking 10 to 15% of other industries are first-time business owners. And now you see this huge influx. And one of the biggest misconceptions, one of the biggest prefix ideas is, oh, well, cannabis is so new. That's why it's a first-time business owner. No. That's not the case at all. You could have been a business owner doing another industry, and now you're branching up into this. I mean, look at myself. I used to own physical therapy clinics. I used to own personal training centers. I used to own a merchant services company. I owned a newsletter company. Then I had a cannabis testing lab. Then I had a vaporizer company. Then I had an advisory company. Then we actually had a cannabis newsletter company as well too. Like, There's so much overlapping there.
So I'm curious about two things. One, is it because it's so easy to get into, the barrier to entry is low? And you mentioned at the conference that some people when you talked about your business advisory services, some people realize that they're not ready to be in this industry. So why 40%? What's the reason in your mind? And then I'm curious.
And you're talking about whether you want to be a business owner in this industry or just an investor in this industry. I think that was what you were trying.
Yes.
So great question about the 40%. And one, it is because it's low. It's low hanging fruit. People think it's very, very easy to get into this industry. The other thing is too, is that you have a lot of people who might have grown cannabis or grown hemp, and they might have done it in the black market, and now they want to legitimize themselves. But when you're legitimizing yourselves, that means you have to run an entire business, get incorporated, have the proper lawyers, accountants, banking systems put up, human resources, employee handbook. You're having your operating agreement for your own business. There's a whole nother world. It's actually doing everything the right way. But really it's low hanging fruit, and people are like, ooh, I can get involved with this. Ooh, I can get involved with this. And they think, and they see all the big money, and they read all about the big money, but what they don't read about is all the failures. Yeah. I mean, something we talk about at the conference is I use the technology stat. In the last 13 years, less than 12% of all technology companies have been acquired. That's not a high number. And a lot of people think, oh, if I start a small business, I'm going to get acquired right away. And that's just not the case always. And that goes to the second part is, do you really just want to be an investor in this industry and make money? Or are you actually looking to do something? And that's where, I talked about your company. Like, if you're going to start a company in this industry, you can give back to charity. What causes are you going to support? What's your mission statement? Are you in this to more than just make money, but actually make a positive difference in people's lives, and to actually, put a good product out there and have the good customer service. And when we sit down with some of our people in this industry, we say, wait, hold on. Why am I going to go spend $20,000 or $30,000 on a lawyer, an accountant, and maybe start getting involved in this industry when maybe I should just spend maybe like $1,000 and talk to an advisor in this industry to see which way I should navigate, which way I should go. And what's interesting is right now, in this year alone, and I did the math, I actually did statistic before this call today, because I knew you were going to ask me this question, is that right now, 18.5% of our clients who thought they were going to open up a business in this industry instead became investors. They realized they didn't want to deal with the political red tape. They realized they didn't want to worry about the employees. They realized that their 3 to 5 year plan, they didn't realize how much money they would have to raise overall. And when we talk about exit strategy, they just really wanted a certain number that they wanted to achieve. They wanted to make a certain amount of capital, and they were very happy and thankful, saying, okay, instead of going and, excuse my language, but pissing away all this money, instead I'm going to invest it and just be an investor. And that's what gives them their level of comfort. So I know it's a little long-winded answer, but I think it kind of addresses both questions for you.
No, it does. And actually, Dr. Dave, I think this all, the three things that you do, the business advisory services, the working with public and private companies, the IR piece, and then, which is investor relations. And then you work with basically you said about 175 accredited investors, angels, family money. So it seems like you cover the entire life cycle of, and I'm going to focus specifically on a cannabis entrepreneur. And what you just said is that of the people who seek you out for your option one, which is advisory services, do I want to spend my $30K and start something, or do I want to spend my $30K and invest in something? You're saying that 1 out of 5 of them, basically, you said 18.5%, understand and realize that they want to either not enter or invest their money in an existing startup. And that's a lot. So, and that's just in your experience. And I know you talk to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's a mind-blowing figure. And I've seen this myself. I've seen that myself as folks who they might approach me for some sort of mentoring or advising. And when we really drill down to it, they realize they should never have spent that 30K and launched their own. And
Yep.
And then it's like, then what? You have literally often spent $30,000. It's not cheap to get into the industry to do it right. 30,000. Wow, that's that needs to sink into a lot of folks out there, because there's a lot of ways to play in the industry without having to go open up a store or launch a line of tinctures and still create wealth for yourself and your legacy.
Exactly, and here's a great thing, and I talk about this. And something we're very proud of at U.C.S. Advisors is that conference that you and I were just at in November. That was my 14th cannabis conference I've attended this year. 14. Yeah. And that was the 8th one I spoke at. And why do I bring this up is that because we talk at conferences all around the country. We go and see what's out there all around the country. We don't pigeonhole ourselves in just one sector. And that's why I tell people, like, hey, there's so much out there. People have no idea. And you talk about the 30 grand people come talk to you and this and that. For CBD companies, people that want to do a startup, I say, great. What's your end game? Like, how much money do you want to make? What's your ultimate goal? And when you ask that question, sometimes people say, well, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I go, great. You're probably need at least $500,000. Oh, I didn't realize I would need that much. And then I'm like, okay, well, how much money do you really want to make from this? Well, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, I want to make this much money after 3 years. I go, great. Instead of putting $50,000 in, why don't you put maybe 15 grand or 20 grand into a pre-existing CBD company, get part equity, and then also become a sales rep for them. So now the better the company does, the more money, the more the valuation of the company goes up. Therefore, your investment goes up. And then on top of that, too, you want to make extra money from doing sales. Great. Now you don't have to worry about designing everything yourself. You're selling that other company's product as well, too. And the better the company does, well, then maybe as well, too, well, great. Now maybe they can make your own line. Because what people don't think about, especially in CBD, is as the FDA gets more involved, and actually, as of today, I was actually just quoted in healthline.com about the FDA warning those 15 CBD companies. You have to worry about proper marketing, proper labeling. Where you're getting your CBD from, do you have your certificate of analysis? And even more importantly, let's talk about GMP, which stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. A lot of people don't realize that as this industry starts evolving, you're going to have more rules and regulations. So as things go up and up and up, you're going to require to do things the way the FDA wants it. Whether you like it or not, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, this is why I won the Tough Love Award, but you have to think ahead of time, because failure to plan is planning to fail.
You're right. So the synopsis, so you said a lot of, those are gold right there. And you're referring to the recent FDA letter that just went out, and we're recording this in December of 2019, but the FDA released a letter to 15 or 16 CBD companies.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And
the essence of it is they were on the fringes or stepped over the line of their marketing, labeling, some sort of...
they made false claims. You and I are both medical practitioners by trade. They made false claims. You can't say something's going to do something when it really doesn't. And you don't have the science to back it up, or they just have data to back it up. You got to be careful if you're labeling as well, too, because they didn't label. They didn't properly label what the product was and what was also in the product. And now, pretty soon, what's going to start happening is the FDA is going to come in and say, great, where's your CBD being made? Where's it being manufactured? And is it following GMP? So it's not great. You can't use that product anymore. It's
interesting.
The rules and regulations are coming. So,
yeah, you make I'm typing this in. You're making a really compelling. What did you say? You said I'm not being a Debbie Downer. What was the award you won? The
Jersey? Tough Love Award. Tough Love.
I have to write that down.
I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I just give some tough love, and as we tell our hourly clients, where we kind of joke around, because we know for first-time business owners, we know for entrepreneurs, your budget's very tight, and for people that maybe want to get in this industry, you have a tight budget, and that's why we offer our hourly services. Because once again, why not go spend a few hours and maybe like $1,000 and go talk to, whether it's us or someone else, a business advisor in this industry, to know all the different aspects, so you know what's coming down the pipeline. A great example is one of our hourly clients went out and they spent $12,000 attending conferences all around the U.S. Think about what aspect they want to get into. They heard us speak at a conference in Boston. We meet after the conference. They're like, oh my God, can we hire you? I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, great, we'll pay for 3 hours right now. So they paid for 3 hours. And we literally sat down for 3 hours, went through everything. And they just went, holy shit. We spent $12,000 in 7 months debating what we want to do in this industry. And literally for $800, not even. We learned more from you in 3 hours to figure out where we want to go in 3 hours than we did in $12,000 in 7 months. You have to be kidding me. And I was like, work smarter, not harder.
You're right. You're right. There's a lot of truth to smarter, not harder. And at the end, we're going to make it easier for folks to cut to the chase and not spend all that money and go to all these conferences. We're going to give the folks your contact info so they can get right to the source. Just cut to the chase, work smarter, not harder. What's crazy is therein lies an opportunity for folks like us who are on stages or go around and spread our message, because since there's not necessarily a consolidation point or a leader or a place where somebody can go seek these out, that happens a lot. Is I've gone to all these conferences, or I checked in all these books, or there's no one place, if you will, where somebody can go and say, I need this information. Where can I go? Of course, there's Google, but the industry is that nascent. It's hard to find those people, which is why we're doing this. So people now know Dr. David is out there, and he's going to make the
well, here's another fun fact for you. So me and my team, we did some recon work on other advisory companies. We're not consultants, because a consultant works on a specific problem retroactively, but we went out there and looked at cannabis advisory and consulting companies in 21 states. So we looked at 118 companies, right, in 21 states, and 60% of them only work on application licenses, and that's it. They don't work on anything else. Think about that, 60%. Then what's even scarier was almost 50% of those consulting companies have never owned their own company before. Because we would always ask the question when we did our recon work, hey, how many companies have you guys started? Hey, what's your background? What have you all done? Because if we're going to use you as a consultant or advisor, we want to know your track record. And it was very scary to see that. So 118 companies, 21 states, we did recon work on. 60% of them only worked on license applications. 50% of them was the first time ever business owner. And it was actually like 51 point something. So we're like, wow, there really is a niche. There really is a need out there. And the one thing, being in this cannabis sector for about 10 years, back in 2010, it wasn't cool to be in cannabis. When, I was going out raising a couple $2 to $3 million back in 2010, 2011, that was tough. That was really tough. We didn't have all the Google, we didn't have all the public trade companies. There wasn't all this data out there. It's a much different game now. And the other thing is too, it's about being cost effective. And it's saying, okay, great. Don't make the same mistakes we made. Don't make the same mistakes that other people are making, educate yourself. Being a medical practitioner by trade, they teach us in our code of ethics. You know this, Rick. It's about empowering our patients with information and knowledge. And that's what we try to do. We really try to inform people with information and knowledge so people can make an educated decision on what's best for them.
Gotcha. All great points. I didn't realize that 60% simply were there to help them fill out an application, which is complicated. It can be.
Oh, it is. It's extremely complicated. And I give that just, and on the flip side, our company works with a lot of law firms. And people say, well, why would a business advisory company work with law firms? It's because what happens is, if you're a startup in this CBD or cannabis sector, what's the number one thing you get right away? A lawyer. Yeah. And then you start asking your lawyer questions. Hey, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? What do I do for this? The lawyer says, hey, I'm just your lawyer. I can't give you business advice on how to run your business. I'm here to, make sure your business is protected, to make sure you have the right contracts in place, to make sure when you're accepting capital, it's done the proper way. But I can't tell you how to run your business. So it's interesting, law firms actually hire us to come in to actually talk to their clients, to actually go over this business advisory work.
Interesting. Folks for those of you who are listening, that is what you call legitimate outside the box thinking. So when one thinks about how do I advertise my cannabis business or gain more clients, we generally turn to industry specific things, journals, conferences. What you just pointed to is it's arguably somewhere where people wouldn't look. And that's with people well outside of the industry, but still connected. So something to key in on there, folks who are listening or watching this, is sometimes your best marketing tools or where you cast your net is not the ocean where you think it is. And so very cool. I want to go to your third point. You talked a little bit about business advisory services. You made a clear distinction between advisors and consultants, which that glowed for me when you said that, because I always mixed them kind of, they were in the same ball, but you clarified that. Interesting. But you talked about essentially, and point number 3 of what U.C.S. advisors, what your company does is you essentially connect companies who are looking for funding with people who have money, basically. When a person or a company approaches you, let's just cut to the chase. Basically, you, if I use my words, not yours, you're going to present a pitch to an investor, and in hopes that the company looking to raise capital raises some money. What are the biggest errors or gaps or mistakes you're seeing with cannabis companies that are, let me put another thing on the table. I get about 10 LinkedIn messages a day. Hey, we're raising 5 million. And it's very poorly written. It looks like a third grader wrote it. So what are you seeing as far as point number 3? How does a company do it professionally?
So great question. And I get this all the time, is that it goes back to failure to plan is planning to fail. Green nugget number 1, we teach all our clients at U.C.S. Advisors. What you need to do is you need to have a proper pitch deck. You need to have a proper exit strategy. You need to talk, in other words, investor language. Okay. Well, a lot of times what happens is that you have this pitch deck, but it's missing some of the most basic information for an investor. Or you have a pitch deck, but it's lacking the subjective story, or it's lacking the objective data. Here's a great example. You get like all these messages on LinkedIn. All right. I get messages on LinkedIn all the time. I say, great. They say, I need to raise money. I need this. I need that. And they go, I send you the stuff. They send it over to us. We go through our team. We say, great. This is nowhere even close to presenting to any potential investor. How many people have you shown this to? Oh, I've shown this like 15, 20 people. Great. How much money have you raised? Nothing. Well, there's a reason why. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. And I am not pitching my own company. I'm just giving people a reality check. And this is just kind of food for thought for people. You know, take your pitch deck and read it and present it to your wife or your partner or your spouse or to your best friend. And don't give any other information, just literally just a pitch deck, and see what their reaction is. If they can't understand your clear message, how is some stranger going to realize what you're trying to do? All right. And then the next step as well too is that people say, oh, I need to raise this money, and we'll go through their deck and we'll say, hey, by the way, you need edits. You need help with this. You need to formulate this. And then they go, great, fix it for us. And I go, great, here's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you maybe 5 hours of work. Oh, I'm not going to pay you that. And I literally say, and I joke around with people, and I say this all the time, and I go, so you want someone to give you $1 million, and I'm lowballing it here, just $1 million, but you're not willing to spend $1,000 or $1,200 of your own money to improve your deck, to improve your one-page sheets. That's the other big thing as well too, is people have this huge deck, sometimes 30, 40 pages. And I go, great, show me your one-page tear sheet. Summarize that 35, 40 pages in 1 or 2 pages for me. Ooh, I don't have that. Well, why not? You need that. Like, a lot of people aren't going to go through that full deck, but you give them something that's 1 or 2 pages long. Oh, great, can you do that for me? Well, yeah, sure, we'll help you with that. Oh, no, I don't want to pay you for it. Just give me what you have. And here's a great example. There was a new client, and she worked for a huge, huge makeup line. And she has all these big makeup people behind her. And she was a beautiful deck, but they've raised almost no money. And I go, great, give me, your one-page teaser. And the response I got back was, no, why don't you just send me 3 or 4 examples so I can copy and do it on my own. And then I said, no, it doesn't work that way. And I go, I'm so sorry. This is something that people pay for as a service. Like, we don't do that away for free. And then she's like, well, my advisory team can help me then. And I go, well, your advisory team has raised you less than $20,000 in 9 months. Think about that. If your advisory team's so great and everything is so great, why have you only raised $20,000 in 9 months? You're coming to me for a reason. And that's where I really tell people that are new in this industry, where this is going to cost you money. If you were going to start up like a McDonald's or a Dunkin' Donuts, you pay a franchise fee for a reason, because they teach you all that stuff. If you're going to open up a landscaping business, or you're going to open up some other type of small business in general, you know, people go out there and pay for business coaches, or they pay for mentors, or, you know, they'll pay for extra services because they know they're going to need that help and guidance. But for some reason, this cannabis and CBD sector, people are like, no, give it to me for free. And I tell people all the time, getting free advice only lasts so long. You know, it's not going to last forever. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions in this industry. People are like, oh, help me raise money, help me raise money. It's like, I'm sorry, but you're not prepared to take on money. And then let's take it on a next level. Because I work with a lot of investors and I work with a lot of family offices, you know, it's also our reputation as a company. We're not going to show a company, a potential investor, a deal if it's not ready, if it's not prepared, because then it makes us look poor. And that's what people don't realize, is that you need to have all your ducks in a row ahead of time. And here comes the next part for a piece of advice that I see a mistake all the time with CBD companies and cannabis companies looking to raise capital. What is your true exit strategy? What's your 3-year plan and 5-year plan? And it's amazing how many people say, I don't exactly know. And I'm like, if you don't exactly know, how are you going to ask someone for $2 million, $5 million, $6 million? And more importantly, have you ever raised money before? Have you ever taken outside investment? Because once you take outside investment from someone, that's a whole nother game. It's a whole nother animal. It's also a whole lot of responsibility. Back in 2011, 2012, one of my companies, I had 63 private investors. Think about that, 63. That's a lot of private investors. You know, and that's a lot of responsibility. And I've had investors who've died, and I've had their kids fight over in the will who gets that investment. I've had people go through bad divorces, and, you know, and during the divorce, the investment comes up. You know, these are things you know that happen when you take on outside money.
Yeah. You know, you're talking about what you're saying is spot on, and I'm gonna break it down in a couple of real simple ways, because I've experienced the same as well, where folks in this industry will say, well, no, I don't really want to pay for that. Can't you just send it to me? Or just what you said, basically expecting free. And one of the things that I talk about is, you know, when I'm ever talking with clients or even on stage, is our business is a direct reflection of us. Think of a mirror. And if we're expecting people like you or other entrepreneurs to give something up for free, that is what we're going to attract. It's that, call it energy, call it our mantra, call it just our take on what business is. That's, I usually turn it around and I'll ask folks, I said, I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine you are in business and somebody comes and asks you for your product or service free of charge. And just think, at face value, how does it feel? It doesn't feel right or good, because you've earned that place. You're in a for-profit business. And while maybe there may be something you can offer, the fact is it's not cool and it's amateur. And I get that all the time as well. We are a direct reflection, us personally, of what our business will be. So interesting stuff. That's
And I'll take it a step further, Rick. I give the lawyer analogy. I go, you call up a lawyer, any lawyer, and maybe a lawyer will give you maybe 10, 15 minutes, you know, just a little advice. But then when you want that lawyer to review the contract or review a lease or something like that, the lawyer's gonna say, hey, it's gonna cost you a few dollars. And the person says, sure, no problem whatsoever. Do you think a lawyer is going to always do that all the time and just give away the service? Because it's also their name and their reputation as well, too. And they go, I never looked at it that way. I'm like, well, that's the same exact thing here in the cannabis and CBD industry. And I also tell people, too, it's almost 2020. Think about this. This isn't 2010, 2011, 2012 back in cannabis where everyone was helping everyone on. There was a lot of pro bono work. It's not like that right now. The industry is maturing. I mean, we have over 30 medical marijuana states. We have over 10 states that have recreational. Like, this isn't circa 2012 anymore. And that's one thing I have to remind people all the time about it. And it's also, as you said, it's how serious are you about this? And how serious are you about getting involved in this industry?
Yeah, I also love what you said about how you've asked, and I've seen this over and over myself. I can testify to that. Is you ask them what their vision is. What does it look like? What's the exit strategy? 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, and they don't know, but they're trying to raise money. I like to frame it as, so basically you're asking somebody to stroke a check to ride your train, and you have no idea where you're going. And I said, where's the logic in that? And they're like, I never thought of that. And I'm like, you should, because you're asking somebody.
I like that.
Yeah.
I have to use that, Rick. I like that train analogy.
Train, plane, or automobile.
Down now.
Yeah, it's like hop on board. We're going to do great things. Okay, where are we headed? Well, I don't know yet, but hop on board. And that doesn't fly with, let's say, the average smart person. Like I wouldn't stroke that check. I'm not here to hitchhike for a ride to wherever you stop.
Yeah.
I'm here for, I know what I want. We're up to about 35 minutes, but I wanted to also touch on something you mentioned, because we can't let this go by that you and I are both licensed providers. We're clinicians. I'm an RN. I have a 4-year degree. You're a physical therapist. We're also entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, but I want to go back to the fact that we're licensed practitioners, and
yep.
we are both still in the hands-on part. So we're not totally removed. So what's happening now is there's folks like us who have a license, and we are advocates, proponents, not only of CBD as a consumable or as something that helps people, but as a business. What do you say, or what do you think about clinicians who are, putting the cross up, or get away from me, or that's evil or bad, or, how does that mesh? Because there's two sides. There's clinicians, MDs, NPs, PTs, RNs who are like, yes, I want this, bring it to my practice. And those who are saying, absolutely not. What do you say to the ones who are absolutely not?
I give them a very polite reminder to go back and read the medical code of ethics. And I quote 2 parts about the medical code of ethics. One is, it's our duty as a medical clinician to go out and do our research and to empower patients with information and knowledge. You don't have to be for it, but you still have to empower and educate. All right. And it's one of those things, kind of like when the doctor says, do you want to get surgery, or you can do a cortisone injection, or you can do this, or you can do that, you can do this, because they have to give you all the options. Right. And the second thing I tell them is this, is that if you read through the medical code of ethics, if there's a better treatment option out there that is actually against the laws, you're supposed to fight for your patients and be an advocate for your patients. Now, that's a little bit more extreme. But I tell people, at the end of the day, you have a medical duty to empower and educate. You don't have to prescribe it. You don't have to tell them to do it, but you have to give them the options. And here's a great example. A lot of people forget, I still treat patients a few hours every week. And we get, especially doing outpatient orthopedics, we have a lot of patients post-surgical who are taking opiates. And they ask all the time, hey, should I be maybe taking something else? And we ask them, say, hey, did you talk to your doctor about using medical cannabis instead of an opiate? Did you talk to your doctor about what type of CBD you might want to use as well too, after a surgery or maybe for some other condition? And they go, no, I'm afraid. I go, why? Well, I don't want the doctor to think bad of me. I don't want the doctor to think I'm some druggie or some pothead. I'm like, wait, hold on. I go, it's your right. You can go to any physician you want to. And a physician is going to bust your chops or look down upon you as a patient because you're doing your own due diligence to take care of your body. Then you should switch medical providers. Now, does that sound a little harsh? Yes, it does. But I will say, being out here in New Jersey, the pharmaceutical capital of pretty much the U.S., is that you now see in the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of practitioners saying, hey, I can't tell you much about medical cannabis, but it is an option, and I can maybe give you a referral to another physician that can tell you more about it if you'd like. Which I gotta give a lot of respect to those physicians. But to a medical practitioner, it's very much like this. I tell them it's your duty. Read your medical code of ethics. You just have to do some education and empowerment. And you just have to inform yourself. Even if you're against it, it's kind of like, hey, there's a brand new way to do a total knee replacement. There's a new surgical technique. You might not like it. You may not choose to do it, but at least you've got yourselves educated about it. You know, if there's a new anti-inflammatory drug, you might not want to prescribe it to your patients, but you still learned about it. You still met with the drug rep. You still got educated. That's what you need to do.
Love it. I love those takes. I love that very soft approach. Just read the medical code of ethics, which it's true. And then all the way to the hardballish. It's like, we owe it to our patients. And if your patients don't like it and you're a patient, you have every right to choose a different clinician or provider. So I love it. And I wanted to bring that up because it's not often that there's double clinicians who are both in the industry, advocates, proponents, and I'm a consumer as well. So we did, just on a random side note, just last week, we did a presentation here in San Antonio to a group of female practitioners, and their mission was simple. We hosted a dinner just like we would as a pharmaceutical company, invited them in. It was dinner, drinks, and a presentation by myself and a pharmacist who's also CBD mixologist, if you will, with the company. And they were there to learn. They were there to do exactly what you said, and that's at least empower myself so I can make an intelligent decision as to, yes, I will advocate this use for my patients, or no, I've learned I still don't want to join the fray, if you will. So really appreciate that feedback. Look, we're at 40 minutes, and this has been awesome. And I have a bunch of notes from that conference and so much more I want to tease out, but with respect to your time and the fact that I don't want to spill all the beans, because you have a lot more to share about not just business and healthcare, and especially how it impacts the cannabis industry and what you do. How can folks find you? What website, Instagram, where's the best way?
So I'm going to give several options. One is the most easiest way, which is my website, UCSadvisor.com. And remember, it's OR. So it's ADVISOR.com, not ER, OR. So the second way is my email. My direct email address is david@UCSadvisor.com. And the third way, and I recommend this to a lot of people, is hook up with me on LinkedIn. The power of LinkedIn is amazing. We teach a lot of our hourly clients, especially when it comes to raising capital, securing capital for the companies, that the power of LinkedIn is there. You will be amazed how many deals come through LinkedIn and how many contacts come through LinkedIn. So you can just reach out to me, David Cunic, Cunic is my last name. So those are the three best ways. Or if you want to call the office, it's 201-252-7170.
Perfect. And folks, those of you who are either watching or listening, these will all be in the show notes for our YouTube channel, also on WeedTube. These will be, bottom line is we will be posting this and sharing this. And by all means, if you have any questions, ask away. If Dr. David doesn't get back, we will by all means make sure he gets some of these questions, and we'll get you guys connected. But look, folks, this has been a very intriguing and thought-provoking and evoking episode, only because the medical frontier of cannabis and CBD is even earlier than, in my opinion, than where cannabis is in general. There are so many clinicians who are hungry to jump in, and so I'm always really excited to get a fellow licensed practitioner who's in the industry, and not necessarily in the CBD itself, but in the advising and mentoring and connection part of it. So if you're watching this, if you're listening, folks, it's because, frankly, you're on a Weed to Know basis. You're hungry, you want to know more. Make sure you leave a comment, you share this, you get the message out. This is absolutely free. There's no charge for what we do here. We're here to help you be a better cannabis entrepreneur or investor now. And you know where to go. Dr. David Cunic of U.C.S.
As I said, we're here to empower and educate. And Rick, you're putting it best. I know we know this. Two medical guys educating and empowering the public. And when people ask, sometimes like, why do you donate your time to do these things? Like why do you go and donate your time to speak at these seminars and travel around the country where you're not getting paid and you're literally traveling for your own hotel, your own airfare, everything just to speak? And it's because it's to educate and to empower. And I tell people, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a medical guy by trade, and it's always about empowering and educating. And it goes back to this mission. That's why you're doing this, to empower and to educate the public. Let them know that, hey, you have options out there. There are other people in the same shoes that are there to help you and to educate you.
For sure. Love it. I love it. We may have to have you on another episode sometime. And I have a feeling we're going to bump into each other at an event here soon. But yeah, Dr. David Cunic, it's been a pleasure catching up with you again.
Same here. Always a fun time, buddy.
For sure, homie. Remember, folks, if you're listening, if you're watching, it's because you two are on a we to know basis. Thank you, guys. Make sure you share this, give us some love and likes, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.